Howdy everyone, and welcome to Demo 4. So today we'll be talking about what we have done in the last 1 week. Um, so I'll start with the stuff today. So I said that I'll be working on a few preset check-in requests, and also if a faculty wants to create a new check-in request from scratch. This is the dashboard that is for faculty part. And previously, we added a feature where when we hover onto this button for create check-in, we get some presets from here. There are a few bugs here when I try to like come down. There is a problem with it, and also sometimes I have to move very quickly to select each of it. And there were a few bugs. And now I added a functionality to properly select these presets and also the how the presets will be looking. So I'll show a demo of it right now. So we are at the login page. I'll log in as the faculty member. So we are logged in as a faculty member. So you can observe I have removed the drop down from the previous page here. And now when we click on this, we get a default view of a check-in request. So these are the default fields that a faculty would be able to add to a check-in request: a student name, location, companion name, and a few comments if they want to add anything. We can also select the fields if they have to be mandatory or not. So when the check-in request is being raised initially, so we would require all the fields here to display in the back end in the back here, as you can see. And later on, if they have to update their location, and the faculty can just raise a request with only the location name as a mandatory field or whatever, and they can click on create. If at all he wants to create something from scratch, if we go back again here, they have to come out of that view and again select something as custom here. So I did not feel like that usability is very user friendly. So I added a new feature here which would say new, and when we click on new here, we can give it a name, um, something like location update that I would want updates, and I would like to add some fields here. We have a few predefined fields for now, which is text, location, and comments, and one by one you can select whatever you want. Now, let's say you want student name again, and you can keep it as mandatory. Again, you can add a new field as location, saying location update, and you can add this field also, and then create and click on create. Right now, you cannot see anything. I mean, the functionality isn't implemented for how it would look as the view again. We'll work on it in the coming sprints. So that is all from my part. So Ram will talk about the next.
Let me share my screen. So for this sprint, I worked on the user stories designated for admin user. I worked on a feature for the admin to add a class in admin dashboard. And then on the backend side, I worked on the Lambda functions, which fetches the existing users from DynamoDB. So firstly, once we land upon the admin dashboard, I can now create the group. I'm creating a sample trip now. So once I add the class, you can see it here, and then it also populates in DynamoDB with help of this Lambda function. I've created a Lambda function to create class in DynamoDB. So this is what we've done in last sprint. And if I go to my DynamoDB now, I can see the class I just created on the front end. So additionally, on top of this, we worked on the code to persist these details in DynamoDB and fetch it back to the front end that was not existing in previous sprint. So if I log out and log back in as an admin user, so once I log in as an admin user, you'll see all the existing classes from the DynamoDB populating here in current groups. And so this is what we have worked on for user story 10. And then in the sprints that are yet to come, we're planning to implement a logic to move these current trips to previous groups as an additional feature. Once we work on other user stories, we look into that part. We need to implement a logic to move them from current to previous based on last active times. And apart from that, I also worked on backend for these two features, which is basically to fetch the existing users from DynamoDB and then add them to existing classes. So if I click on any of these groups, this opens a form, and then the idea here is to populate this student dropdown and faculty dropdown from the DynamoDB. So that is not implemented on the front end yet. But if I go to my backend Lambda function, I basically have a get students and get faculty Lambda function. So this is a simple test event I created. This basically fetches all the existing users in the DynamoDB. So this Lambda function is to fetch all the student users. The idea is to get this data from Lambda function in the backend and then populate it on the front end for student dropdown and likewise for faculty dropdown. And once we add the student and faculty users, our class should populate with the new users down below here. So we worked on the backend for these two user stories, 11 and 12, and then eventually we need to integrate it with the front end as well. So that's about it from my end. I mostly worked on these admin user stories.
Okay, so I'll go next. So I'll share my screen. So the user story I was working on was if a student logs in and wants to check in his location should reflect back in DynamoDB. So first, let's go to DynamoDB. Here I created a table called locations, which has the unique ID each student has as a partition key and the timestamp as a sort key. And for this, I created a Lambda function and an API gateway. So here it is. Here's the Lambda function. So these are the parameters that will be taken in: the ID, the latitude, longitude, the timestamp, and the date time. And if it is success, we'll get status code 200. And if there is an error, we'll get a status code 500. So now I'll show you the demo. So I log in as a student. And now, for example, let's see the table is currently empty. There are no items in the table. And now if I click on get current location, you can see it is being populated. So this is the unique ID string. This is the timestamp. And here we get the date and time. So the date and time is still in, let's say, it is in this format. I will be converting this into the actual readable time format in the next sprint maybe. And yeah, that's it from my side. This is what I worked on.
Okay, so I'll go next. I worked on documentation. Let me share my screen. So I created a structured format here and I started filling in all the information. But this is just a draft copy for now, and I will be adding further updates and information to this. And Yeah.
I'll go next. I've worked on some of the UI UX part that we have done in the previous weeks. I found a few bugs in this code that I'm trying to update. So I'm still trying to work on the SOS button. There's not much for me to present right now, but that is my update.
I've been working on improving the backend. There's nothing much to show right now, but by the next week, I'll have something to share. Thank you.